want to welcome the audiences that are watching also as well on all the social outlets from SNY, as well as all the Mets social channels. I'm going to introduce each guest individually, and then we're going to ask them to make a couple remarks, our three guests, and then we'll go into a Q&A. So with that time, remember to use the raise your hand tab at the bottom of your screen, and we will be glad to call on you. And you can tell us who you would like your question intended for. So I will begin first with Mr. Ken MacKenzie. He was an original Met in 1962 under Casey Stengel and was the only pitcher on the staff that season that had a winning record, going 5-4 in 42 games. MacKenzie graduated from Yale and would later return to be the Bulldogs head coach, where he would actually end up tutoring a young Ron Darling. Mr. MacKenzie went 3-1 and was second on the team with 3 saves as well in 1963. So Ken, welcome to the Zoom, and thank you so much for joining us today. If I could ask you to offer a few words of what you're looking forward to in attending Old Timers Day, as well as sharing any kind of memories or recollections from your time as a Met.
Well, thank you, Howard. I have a lot of good memories from '62. I think the fondest memory I have is shit. Yeah. What?
Keep going.
Take your time.
Okay, no, that's fine. I'll forget my own name. The Hot Rod Keneal was maybe the most fun of any player I played with. He is right up there with Bob Uecker. And Hot Rod had a ton of stories to tell, mostly about me, and I've never forgotten any of them. Hot Rod lived down in the Village in Manhattan, and so did we, my wife and I. And he said to me one day, "MacKenzie, you're down in the best place to live in New York, and you don't even know it." And the Hot Rod, he would tell me what all the action was the night before, and it was just a howl every time he told it. And the Hot Rod, I don't know what he hit. He probably hit about 240 or something like that. But Casey loved him. And Hot Rod would find a pearl in just about every game we played. And he made it fun for everybody. And Casey loved him. Casey just absolutely loved him. And I think, Bauer, want you to shut up.
No, thank you for sharing that. Appreciate that. And we all really look forward to obviously seeing you on August 27th, as a reminder that the Old Timers Day will take place on August 27th versus Colorado, and the festivities will begin at 5 p.m. that evening. So next up, would like to introduce Howard Johnson. Howard played with the Mets from 85 to 93. Hojo was a two-time All-Star. He earned 2 Silver Slugger Awards and finished in the top 10 in MVP voting 3 times while he was with the Mets. He led the National League with 38 homers and 117 RBIs in 1991 and twice compiled 30-30 seasons. Hojo also ranks in the top 10 in Mets history in doubles, homers, RBI, runs, and stolen bases. So it's truly a privilege to welcome you, Howard, to our Zoom today. And if I could ask you the same, to just share your thoughts on what it means to return for the first Old Timers game in a long time, as well as any other memories that you'd like to as well share.
Well, I appreciate you, Harold. Thanks for reaching out, and I'm glad to be on this Zoom call to see some familiar faces and catch up with a few guys. And I think the biggest thing is going to be seeing a lot of my ex-teammates and just kind of interacting again, just kind of going back to where we were back in the day. And then some guys that when I was a coach, like Billy, being able to see those guys and catch up with them as well. So I just love it. I mean, when I see guys like Ken MacKenzie, one of the original guys, I mean, who doesn't love that? We the guys that played for the Mets were part of the fabric of what was the history of the team. And there's a lot of fans now that really don't even know that history because they haven't had an Old Timers Day. And so now that that's back, and you're going to see a vast number of guys, I'm sure, be out there for it, and the fans will show up, and I'm excited to see that too. I'm excited to see how the fans react to all of us, because we all have different memories and things. Some of us good, some of us bad. I had some bad ones, I tell you that, but I just love the fact that we're going to get to New York again and see. The people, there are people, I'm excited about that. And I want to thank my teammates and, a lot of fans out there that, with our family this last year when Tanner had that unfortunate accident with his foot. And that's a big deal for us. And I'm excited that, he's going to get a chance to see me play Old Timers Day. So right now I'm just a figment of his past. I'm Papa Ojo. That's what I am. So it'll be great to be out there and be around people, and looking forward to it.
Yes, thank you, Hojo. That'll change in August when you're able to take the field again. And last, but of course not least, I'd like to introduce Billy Wagner.
Ooh.
Billy was the Mets closer from 2006 to 2009, including the 2006 National League East Championship. He is one of 5 relievers in team history with 100 or more saves. Billy struck out 230 batters in 189.2 innings and posted a 2.37 ERA during his time with the Mets. He was a 2-time All-Star, and he received recently 51% of the vote for Baseball Hall of Fame induction this past January in his 7th year on the ballot. So that is trending correct, and we know a call from the Hall is in your future. So with that, Billy, I'd love to turn it over to you to speak about your thoughts about coming back to Old Timers game, as well as any other memories you'd like to share.
Well, Harold, thank you for including me. I'm like Hojo. I'm excited to get back and see the fans, but really just see old teammates. I'm a historian fan of the game, so being able to hear their stories and kind of relive it, for my father and my grandfather, who always told me about their favorite players, to be around some of those guys and just to catch up with guys that I haven't seen since retirement. It'll be great to get back. It's just to see Hojo, to see some of these guys that were my heroes growing up, and I had so much respect for. I'm excited to see those guys. And my time in New York, I was tremendous. I loved every bit of it. Coming from Houston and Philadelphia and smaller markets from Southwest Virginia to show up in New York, I grew to very fond of New York, and I had a lot of help and guidance when I was there. And so to see Jay and some of these guys from the past, I'm really excited.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Billy. We're going to move on to our Q&A portion. Again, reminder, use the raise your hand tab at the bottom of the screen, and please indicate who you are directing your question to. We'll start with Eddie Coleman. Ed, your line is open.
Thanks, Harold. Good to see all you guys. I have a question for each guy. So, Ken, I'll start with you. I wondered, you pitched for the Mets in 2 years when they lost 231 games, and you got out of New York with a winning record, 8-5 and 4 saves. So exactly how did you do that?
Well, which was the hardest part? I think George Weiss told me in spring of 63 that I was lucky. And I said to him, Mr. Weiss, I was trying to get a raise, and he didn't like to give out raises. And I said, if I didn't have some bad luck, I wouldn't have had any. We didn't have an infield that got very close to ground balls. And so they didn't make a lot of errors. But I shouldn't say that because that's not very nice of me. But it's like I always said that we had a pretty good pitching staff because we threw the ball a long way. And I'm proud of the fact that some of the players who hit home runs off me were good hitters. I faced some really good hitters. Henry Aaron, Willie May, and Frank Howard. I threw a gamer to Frank Howard one night in Dodger Stadium. And I was still on the mound when the ball deposited itself up in the seats in left field. And Chris Cannizzaro came out to the mound and said, MacKenzie, what the hell's the matter with you? You didn't think that ball was going out? I said, well, nobody's ever won out of it. And if that one went, I was going to see it. And
Thanks, Ken.
Bateman said to me in Houston, hey, MacKenzie, you're really throwing the ball hard now. I said, how's that? He said, well, you're throwing it so far. And it was a pretty honest assessment of what I was doing. And yeah, so far.
Thank you, Ken.
Thanks, Ken. Hoj, I got a question for Hoj and Wags too, if I can.
Please.
Hoj, good to see you.
Good to see you, Eddie.
We don't see this much more in baseball these days. You were a power and speed guy. You had 30 seasons, a 30-40 year, I think as well too. Why do you think that is? And do you think that can come back in baseball as well?
It could absolutely come back. I appreciate it. It's good to see you, man. You look the same. You never age.
I don't know if that's good.
Yeah, but absolutely could come back. And the way I always felt was, base stealing was an act of will, and it takes a lot of. It's difficult. There's a lot that goes into it. It's not just being able to run. I never was the fastest guy, but I love stealing bases, and my focus almost always was to get on base and try to steal. And I had that in me. I wanted to be that kind of a player that if somebody walked me, that I could try to steal and be in scoring position to score a run, for my team and make them kind of pay. That's just why I learned that from my dad. I learned that as a kid, and I loved it. I fell in love with it. And the National League was a great league for me to be in, getting out of Detroit where it really wasn't valued as much. But like today, the game has changed somewhat with quite a bit now, I guess, strategy wise, what hitters are trying to do, what offenses are trying to do. A lot of teams don't like to play for one run anymore. I think they feel like they're giving up way too much. Sometimes you are giving up something, the potential, right, for a 2 or 3 run homer, but those don't come along every day. I mean, it's much easier to try and create opportunities, on the base pass, and it affects the other team a lot. And so anyway, but it is different. I appreciate it. It's a part of the game. I loved it, and I like teaching it. It's fun.
Thanks, Oj. And Wags, good to see you as well. You look the same.
You haven't changed a bit.
That's dangerous, I'll tell you that. That's for sure.
It's hard to stay that good looking.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Takes a lot of work, doesn't
it? Billy, you're probably going to say it doesn't matter, but your strikeouts per 9, your strikeout rate are Hall of Fame worthy, and your numbers are increasing too. You went 46 to 51, I think, this year, and you got 3 more shots. So, is it more important to you? Is this something you always kind of downplayed that stuff when you played, I know, but how has it become more important to you in time?
Well, you know what? I don't know really how to answer that, because I hate to think that I would be talking about myself. I like playing the game and trying to be the best I could and doing the job the best I could for my team to win. And I was in a role that I got to be very selfish. I got to go out there and pitch for strikeouts. Everything I tell my high schoolers not to do, I got to do. So, it was unique. And I was blessed. I had some great teams that played behind me that, made great plays, made me look really good, gave me a lot of opportunities. The guys in the bullpen, I mean, they don't get enough credit that they deserve to, that made me look good. And, I'm just blessed. I mean, I don't know how. I think downplaying is the best way, because you don't want to be heartbroken when it gets to that point and, it doesn't happen. But, I'm trending in the right way. I've got a lot of good people that have said really nice things about me. So, I'm excited. And by the way, if you guys see me writing on here, I'm writing everything that Hojo and Ken say, because I'm telling these young guys quotes from them about being a base stealer and things like that. I'm always learning and trying to get things better. So, don't think I'm not paying attention, because I am. I'm just, I'm really excited to be here and to get to be interacting with some of my heroes.
Thanks, Wags. Good to see you.
Thank you, Ed. We will next go to Tim Britton. Tim, your line is open.
Hey guys, this question's for Howard and Billy. I'm just wondering what your guys' best memories of Shea Stadium were. What it was like to play there, what it sounded like there, what you remember about being in that stadium.
Man, well, I remember that stadium being massive, and it shook when the people were really like riled up. In the World Series, it was incredible what was going on during that Game 6, especially. But just a loud ballpark. Not so much anymore. Do you see that here the airplanes crossing? I think that was a big deal back in the day. You could be in the dugout and look out across and in the deep left field and see airplanes approaching and knowing that they were going to pass almost directly over you and be so loud that the place just vibrated. And I never forget, Keith told me, Hernandez, he said he wanted to hit when the plane went over. because if he mishit the ball, they would never really hear it. They would be a little off their game, you know. So I was like, that's pretty good. I mean, who thinks of that, you know? Keith thinks of that stuff. So anyway, that was my good memories.
I think my memories were I made my debut in New York against the Mets, so it's always going to be fun facing Rico Bronya. He almost takes me deep, but who cared, right? It was my debut. I was throwing it as hard as possible, and plus, you know, at that point I was throwing strikes, so everybody was all excited. So, but then, you know, I think, you know, in that 06, I don't know if I've ever been a part of that passion of a crowd who, when you walked onto the field, I mean, they loved every bit about you. And I mean, they wanted nothing but success. And I mean, the stadium rocking, the planes going over, I mean, there was nothing like Shea Stadium. I mean, it's always going to be special. I love the old ballparks. I mean, but I mean, when that, you know, Hojo is exactly right. That there's nothing quite like that. That I get goosebumps thinking about the energy that crowd brings to you when you stepped out there and seeing the stadium rock, and it was just an awesome environment.
Thank you.
Thank you all for that. Next up, let's go to Mark Roseman. Mark, go ahead.
Thanks, Harold. I got one for each of them. I'll start with Hojo. Hojo, first off, I'm glad that Tanner's doing well. Good to see you again. You're part of the 93 Mets, and if I remember correctly, I think it was the 20th anniversary of the Mets versus A's. So that was the old timers theme. What do you remember being a player and seeing the 73 Mets coming out 20 years later against the 73 A's?
Man. Well, I grew up in west coast of Florida in Clearwater, but I was always an A's fan as a kid because that's when they were great, you know. So I got to see some players that I idolized when I was a kid, and you know, like Billy said, I love watching old games from the 70s. You know, even in the 60s, you know, color TV and everything started coming around. So there was a lot of things going on baseball wise. It was a much cleaner game to watch, like especially on television. Nowadays it's kind of broken up a little bit, but I just remember seeing all those players out there, and it just makes you think like when you were a kid, and it touches that part of us that propels us and drives us to play that game, the game that we, you know, grew up as a kid doing. And now we're getting a chance to play it and getting paid to play it. But we're still that kid inside, you know, because when those guys walk on the field, you feel it, you feel something. And that's what it's going to be like when we get out there on Old Timers Day.
And Billy, for you, you know, Eddie mentioned the Hall of Fame and, you know, your numbers. You ever wonder what your career might have been had you not broken your right arm at age 7?
I try not to, because I don't know if it could have been any better. Shoot, I mean, that was a life-changing moment that you didn't even know. You know, it's just, you know, a blessing. I think I don't try to think of that because it couldn't have been any better.
And lastly, for Ken, you know, obviously there were so many great Casey Stengel quotes. I think the one for you was when you signed with the Mets, he said that you are now officially the lowest paid graduate of the Yale class of 56. What's your fondest memory of Casey Stengel?
Well, I think Casey didn't have one memory. He had a lot of memories. And
Paul, if you can adjust the phone there so we can hear Ken. There you go. Go ahead, Ken. Sorry about that. I think we can maybe hear you better now.
Casey treated everybody like they were special. And he referred to me many times as his Yale man. And I played with another guy in Milwaukee who sort of put down the fact that you'd gone to college. And he used to have a favorite saying was, I seen it, I know. You don't have to go to college to know that. And Casey never did that. Casey was always on top of things. And he was a special guy. And I heard stories about how Casey would go to sleep in the dugout, but I never saw that. And I'll never say that I saw that. And Casey was so far from being asleep that you would never say that Casey was asleep at the switch. And that was special. And when I went up to say goodbye to him, he said, that's okay. I know you always did your best. And I appreciated that. I know you always did your best. And it might not have been very good sometimes, but it was what I could do. And Casey got the most out of you, I think.
It's great. Ken, thank you. Next up, let's go to Tim Healy's line. Tim, go ahead.
Hey, I have a question for Billy to follow up on your aside earlier. I was wondering what wise words from these other guys you have written down that you want to share with your players.
Well, Hojo's always been one of my favorite. I mean, when he talks about base stealing and things like that, the art of the grit has changed in the game. And so when I'm able to talk to guys like Hojo and guys that are more in my stature that today would have been looked down on, I enjoy hearing their references of grit and their willpower to do these things. And and to listen to Ken talk about Casey and his memories of how throwing the ball long. I mean, don't think that when my pitcher gives up a home run, I'm going to walk out there and go, "Hey man, you're really throwing the ball long today." I think that's the greatest thing I've ever heard in my life. I mean, it goes back there beside the Mark Portugal comment when Bob Clark walked out after Portugal had thrown 3 consecutive home runs, and Portugal asked him, "Why are you out here?" And he goes, "Because I'm letting them reload the cannons." I think those are the greatest comments to be icebreakers. And so, I don't know everything, but I know people that didn't know a lot more than me. And when I hear them talk, I like to write down what they're saying. And so when I hear Hojo and Ken and these guys say things, I like to put that down and file it back, because those are just the greatest memories.
And
Solid.
at the Miller School there, how do you like doing that? And do you aspire to coach at higher levels at all?
You know what? I do, not pro ball. I can't, I'm past that. I don't know if I can babysit. I mean, and I speak from experience. I know that when you're there, you're just a different breed. I really feel that, I was blessed to have a lot of people around me as coaches that put up with me, and I learned a lot with and gave me feedback that at the high school level gives me a chance to really develop them and, give them confidence and understanding, and really to show them how to not make the mistakes I made. And so when I have that opportunity, I just think at this level, it just gives me a great opportunity to teach young kids the way to go about their business. And I learned all that from the guys that I played with and the managers that gave me the opportunity.
Thank you.
Good.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Billy. Next up, Josh Lewin will come to you.
Sorry, had to unmute there, Harold. Sorry about that. Guys, welcome back. And I'm just wondering, I guess this is for Billy first and for Howard too. You guys seem to be in tip-top condition just from looking at you. What do you have?
Headshots.
What do you
Headshots, baby.
What do you have to do to get ready between now and August to make sure you're out there representing your person in a correct manner?
Stretch a lot. Lots of stretching. I throw BP every day. So I'm my arm's the only thing that doesn't hurt most days. So, but you know what? I don't think you're ever prepared for anything like this. I just think it's a great opportunity, a great event to get back and to really to just mingle with the peers and ex-teammates and the media and guys that you haven't seen in a while. So I'm going to stretch a lot and try to not do anything stupid between now and then so that I can be a part of it.
Good advice. Next up, I'm sorry, Josh, go ahead. You had a
No,
follow-up.
just real quick for both those guys too. Howard, I'm trying to peer in at some of the memorabilia you've got behind you. I don't mean to eavesdrop, but
No, I'm actually in my son's office at his house.
Right on.
And he's got a bunch of stuff that I used to have.
So that's my question for both you guys, for Howard and for Billy. What treasured Mets memorabilia do you still have with you that's either on a wall or with a spotlight on it? What's your best stuff?
Man, probably for me, I guess would be my uniform jersey that I would never be able to fit in now in a million years. That fits like a t-shirt now, but I've got that at home. Nice frame there. But just some of the photos I have a picture of, I've got two pictures that are really special. One is picture of me, Doc, and Mitch celebrating after we clinched the division against the Cubbies. And then I have one with me and Bobby O sitting together after the World Series in the locker. I think I'm sitting on his lap or he's sitting on my lap, and we both got champagne and we're just sitting there chilling and just thinking about what we just accomplished. Those are my gems, my three.
Billy, what are your gems?
It's funny. I was just sitting here just going, I've got a lot of jerseys from Pedro and Glavin, Beltran and El Delgado. I tell you, I have so many memories. I mean, I love baseball, and so I don't know if I have one. I mean, there was so much went on in 4 years in New York. In 2006, there was so much that I was exposed to that I've got on my wall. All the little things of being a Met, the little things. I mean, I don't know if there's one thing there that just stands out besides the only thing that I will say is the pinstripes with the orange stripe down that we got to wear one time when we were on, I think it was 42 day. That was the only time. That's one thing that probably is the most priceless thing that I have, because I always wanted to wear that uniform. I love those old uniforms.
Awesome. Thank you, fellas.
You look good in that too.
It would have slimmed me down.
Ed Randall, your line is open.
Big Ed.
Here. Wonderful, Hojo, to see you, and Billy too. But my question is for Ken, and wonderful to be with you, Ken. Can you please tell us when was your first inkling in '62 that the Mets probably weren't going to be pennant contenders?
Well, I don't think we ever thought we were out of the race. We put the flags up on top.
Wow.
And it took a while to realize that the flags told us where we were in the league. We watched them work their way down, sort of all season. but it was when they were getting near the end of the roof that we realized that we were not going to win any pennants.
Thank you,
That's
Ken.
good. Thank you so much.
Started off the season with 9 wins and 9 losses, excuse me. And it wasn't until Jay Hook pitched a game in Pittsburgh that we actually won our first game. And it wasn't until we finished the season in Chicago that we realized we were going to get out of there alive. And I was lucky enough to pitch the last inning of the last game in Wrigley Field. And I always appreciated the fact that I actually pitched some baseball in Wrigley Field. And I've always felt sorry about my career in baseball that I never played in Boston. And it wasn't to be. And there's some great history in the National League, but let me tell you what pressure is. Pressure is facing Bob Buell the last day of the season when he's 0 for 69. If I'm giving up a base hit to Bob everywhere, and that for me was real pressure. And
That's fun. Good one.
Thank you, Ken.
You gotta write that down, Billy. That was a good one there.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Mark Healy, your line is open.
Well, good morning. This is good afternoon. It's morning for me. Good afternoon to everyone. It's great to see everybody. Ken, Hojo, of course, I covered with the Cyclones, and Billy. My question's for Billy. It's great to see everybody, but my question's for Billy. When you only pitched 4 years in New York, and I think that for all of the success that you had in Houston, I know that as your candidacy for the Hall of Fame becomes more and more, I think, prevalent, I think that the Met fans have really, it seems to me, just based on my interactions with them and a column that I wrote a couple of months ago about why you should be in the Hall of Fame, does it mean something special to you that so many Met fans have supported your candidacy for Cooperstown?
Oh, absolutely. Hey, and thanks for the article. Yes, it does. I mean, it's funny, a short time, but like you were saying, Mets fans are so passionate, and they like blue collar. They like those grinders. They like those guys, and I fit that mold. And so, I was always interactive with the fans, and I mean, shoot, if you had a bad game, go to the deli the next day, you're going to hear about it. If you had a good game, you're going to hear about it. So that's where I'm from. I mean, I'm from a small town in Southwest Virginia, so everybody knows everybody. So being in New York City was like being in that small town, and so interacting was just part of it. And everybody was passionate about their baseball as like they are on all their sports. But I tell you, just going around, I think more people always say they recognize me as a Met more than anything any other place that I've been. So yeah, it's hard not to really embrace that moment and all the things that happened in that little short time.
Good. Thank you, Billy. And also would like to thank Ken and Hojo as well. Thank you all for joining us. We really look forward to seeing you in August on this special night. And again, for sharing all these memories and stories. I know everybody appreciates hearing all of them. As a reminder, we're going to ask the 3 alumni to stay on this Zoom along with